Well, I wish I was kidding, but in the last week, both my husband and I have been labeled as having Trump Derangement Syndrome. Here's what I want you to know. Trump Derangement Syndrome is a conversation ender. That's the point of it. It's not a real diagnosis. It's political slang, and the purpose of it is to dismiss the concerns and the questions of the opposite side and dismiss them as irrational, deranged, mentally unstable. It is not listed as an actual diagnosis in the DSM. So it's created for the purpose of controlling a group of people and giving them an explanation for why you are concerned and so vehemently disagree with what's going on right now. And here's the thing about it. It moves the conversation, like by engaging this TDS idea, it moves the conversation away from the actual content of what is concerning. And so you saying, here's what I'm concerned about, becomes you are deranged for being concerned. And after that point, you're not debating anything real. You're not actually engaging about facts or political instability or democracy. Like, you're not actually in a real conversation after you've been labeled that way. You're just defending your own credibility against somebody who has already deemed you not credible. Because in MAGA, the only credible people are the people who are towing the line. So you can't really, at that point, engage around facts anymore, because that's going to change the way that you interact. It's going to help you save your breath if you find yourself being put in this fake diagnosis camp. And if someone is using the label this way with you, there's no point in engaging anymore, because the harder you try to make your point logically or based on your lived experience or the lived experience of other people in your life, the more you try to do that, the more you're proving their point that you are emotionally unstable and that you have a hatred for Trump. And like, the more that you try, it actually builds their case instead of helping them understand your perspective better, which is super frustrating, but also really important to know, right? So the more that you try to argue, the more that they're going to see you as hysterical, deranged, emotionally unstable. Like, it's really, it is just really, it's effective. The irony of just all of it is just awful. But I want you to understand what you're dealing with and like why things are functioning in this upside down, backwards kind of way right now. So the second that someone calls you TDS, the argument is already over. And here's why. TDS is a thought-terminating cliche. So if you don't know what that is, there is something called the BITE model for authoritarian control. And it has different, like BITE stand for different things. I did a video on this here if you'd like to deep dive into it and hear more examples. But today we're going to talk about thought control. And what's happening in the American government and MAGA right now is it's thought control. So the tactics that the authoritarian government are using are the same tactics that abusers use, that high control religion uses, that any sort of coercive control group uses. And I have ADHD, and this has become a special interest of mine. I've listened to so many cult podcasts because I used to be in high control religious spaces myself, and I wanted to understand, like, how did they control me? Like, how did they change my whole personality? Because they did. Like, there were tactics going on that changed my whole entire personality. So I talk about this on this channel a lot, but I want you to know that if you are arguing with a loved one and you're trying to get them to see your side, there's not really a lot of a point to doing that, especially once they're using terms like TDS, because coercive control systems have these thought-stopping cliches that are meant to keep the people in the group from actually thinking critically about a circumstance. So, maybe in the past, or even in this context, the person who's saying that you have TDS, they might think, wow, I always knew Andy to be a reasonable person. So this is like not the random people on the internet, but like in a real interaction with somebody that you have a relationship with. I always knew Andy to be a reasonable person, and she disagrees with me and thinks that what is happening right now in the Trump administration is very, very awful. She seems really angry. She seems really hateful. Oh, Trump told us this would happen. There's an explanation for this, for a previously reasonable person being really upset, that doesn't have to do with what's actually going on in the Trump administration. It has to do with, clearly they have Trump Derangement Syndrome, because they're really upset. And they're not usually really upset. And they disagree with me. And I'm so confused by that. There's just, it's a perfect evil solution for not listening to other people. And I think that that's what's so brilliant in the most evil way about thought-terminating cliches, because it keeps the people having a simple explanation for why so many people disagree with them. So you may have seen thought-terminating cliches in different environments, like everything happens for a reason is a thought-terminating cliche that's very normal. And, many thought-terminating cliches don't have an underlying, desire to control, but many do. So everything happens for a reason is the kind of thought-terminating cliche that basically stops you from asking, how could this be different? Or maybe it stops you from grieving, right? Because it's like these big things that we can't explain, we just label something super easy onto it. And oh, I don't have to think about this because I guess everything happens for a reason. So, it explains away problematic situations. Another one in a similar idea that I've experienced in high control religion is when you're struggling with something problematic, instead of engaging with the difficulty of the topic, people just slap on God is good all the time, which thought terminating cliches in some regards, they might you might even believe them to be true, but they're used in this way of like, it is what it is. That's another one. Where like you stop the conversation by having this statement. So with TDS, the way that this works is it just, it labels you. And then after that point, everything that you do just feeds into the label. So the more vehemently you argue or try to give facts and logic and explain yourself and explain why you're upset, if somebody has labeled you this way, you've already lost them. And they're doing it because otherwise they would have to be engaging with you around the real topics. And that doesn't feel safe to them because that would pull their whole ideology into question, right? So that's another reason people use thought-terminating cliches, is because to keep questioning and keep pulling the thread is very frightening, because it might undo your whole, it might like unravel your whole belief system. At least that's the fear, right? With people that you know, sometimes, you know, the people that you're engaging with, you're like, they used to be reasonable. And like, I know they're a smart person, and like, why are they believing all of these things? Well, it has to do with coercive control. And yeah, that's a bigger conversation. Probably my video on my brain was hacked would help you understand some elements of what you're dealing with. I don't know. I hope that this helps you at least make a category for what's going on. Really, the takeaway is not very fun, but the takeaway is like, if you are trying to engage in good faith and this term gets pulled out, like you're done. The conversation is done. You're not going to make any progress. And I think for those of us who really want to save some relationships in our lives, we would like to think that we could continue to have the conversation, and there's not really any possibility at this point in that relationship for the conversation to actually happen and for like real understanding to happen, because of how this TDS thing is like hijacking the person's ability to even hear you. So you're not failing if you have tried so hard and the person can't hear you. You are interacting with a closed conversational loop, like their mind has been closed at that point. And that loop, it makes you being concerned the evidence against you. And so I think understanding that can give you a degree of freedom. I mean, it's sad. Like, there's so much grief about this. I did a video the other day about how much grief it is, like losing family to MAGA. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. And you're in good company. There's a lot of us dealing with this kind of thing. And so in this particular instance, if you're getting labeled this way, I just want you to understand why and what's happening. Don't be too hard on yourself if you can't reach your loved ones, because there are really clear reasons for that. My name is Andy. I live in Portugal with my family of 7. Now it is time for my okay-ometer segment. So during the 45-day period between my 45th birthday and whatever 45 days after that is, I am including a segment called the OK Report, because I haven't always felt okay lately, and I'm trying to figure out what makes me feel more okay. So today's okay-ometer, I don't know, I never know whether you can see this or not. Okay, so I forgot my paintbrush or my pen today, so I'm going to have to show you where I am on the okayometer. I'm sort of in the middle. I am relieved today that it's the weekend and that I don't have a lot to do. So far, to be more okay today, I have had a slow morning. I have sat in bed for a very long time and not rushed. I don't have anything planned today, really. We do have guests in town. So that's why I'm missing days lately. I'm trying so hard to show up daily, but sometimes it's just not happening. We're on guest set number 3 of 4 in about a month's time span. So anyway, my life is never calm, but it's especially not calm right now. Now, most of the guests have been really delightful. So anyway, what I'm trying to do today is just not rush. That's what I'm trying to do to be okay. I'm sure that once my ADHD meds kick in and I have some breakfast, I'll probably feel better. I'll probably get at least to the blue sky and bird part of the okayometer. I hope that you're doing okay today. If you aren't, I really encourage you to go find the beauty in whatever capacity you can find it. Just nature, light through the window, anything pretty in your house. You can go look at my art website if you want to look at something beautiful. I just have a lot of my photos and paintings on there. Sometimes it's just nice to see something beautiful. It helps your spirit remember that there's still beauty in the world. Thanks for being here with me today. There's a seagull way too close to me right now.